steroid era took time for the Mitchell report and all that kind of stuff to find out who they thought were on steroids, who wasn't on steroids, whatever the heck it was. But it was more a time period, a longer time period. This was like they showed up for spring training. Here was the media. Every single one has to answer the questions right now.
Hi, I'm Patty Smith with the Harris County Houston Sports Authority, and welcome to Queued Up, the Q for quarantine. Yes, we are all either quarantined, we're staying at home, or we're social distancing. And in this time, we don't have any sports. Usually sports has been the one thing that's been able to fill that void, whether it was after Hurricane Harvey or after 9/11. Sports brought us all together, kind of galvanized us, took our mind off of what was going on. Well, we're hoping to do that with Queued Up. We're going to introduce you to, or actually bring you in the homes digitally, of some of Houston's athletes, both current and past. And we're going to start with Jeff Bagwell. Here's a guy who spent all 15 years of his career with the Houston Astros. He's a .297 lifetime hitter with 449 home runs. He was a Rookie of the Year. He was an MVP. He's got Silver Sluggers. He's got batting titles. Jeff is obviously not only one of Houston's greatest athletes, he is one of my favorites, and he is Queued Up. All right, Jeff Bagwell in the house for Queued Up here on this show. Jeff, how are you? How are you doing? All quarantined up and locked down in your house?
I'm doing fine, just like everybody else. Social distancing and quarantining for me is perfectly okay by me. I just like the choice, but with all this stuff with the virus going on, we're doing our part, staying home. Staying busy here, very fortunate, looking at what's happening in the world and obviously the United States. And it's scary. It's kind of the fear of the unknown, and it's every day. There's nothing else to do. That's why we're doing this show, because there's nothing else to do. So we can do stuff like that, and we could talk, and, we do the best we can, and we're fine. And we're grateful that everybody's healthy in my family, and just sending out prayers to the rest of the world.
So what you're saying is if you weren't locked down, you wouldn't have done this show with me?
No, I would always do it. We have history, Patty. We've been on the steps of Philadelphia together and stuff like
yes.
that.
I'm going to spring this on you early. You want to know how much history we have?
Please.
Check this out.
Oh, my God. That is maybe 96. Could be.
Crazy? We were just babies. Look how cute we were.
I know. How about that? Well,
yeah.
You, not me. I still live.
Yeah. So what kind of things have you guys been doing to keep busy? Who do you have all in your house, and what are you guys doing?
I have Rachel. I have Max and Raquel here. Rich and I, we probably do cardio in the morning, work out, do some stuff in the afternoon, watch a whole bunch of TV. But that's very limited at this particular point with no sports. Sometimes I guess you take that for granted, but a whole bunch of I watch Bar Rescue. That's my show that I watch now to figure out how people save bars and stuff like that. Just entertaining to get to see people interact and stuff like that. But other than that, tons of Netflix, always looking for ideas. And, I get caught and I start looking at the news. I watch the president's speech and questions and everything like that. And it's just like everybody else, just kind of waiting around, and just the realization that we have, 27 more days of this too. So just try and stay positive, and the kids are fine. They find things to do. And Maxwell is a 13-year-old. He's got gaming in his room, so we don't see him too much. And Raquel kind of hangs out with us, and we just talk and laugh. So just doing a family thing, which has worked out great.
Well, and that is great. I mean, people are kind of rediscovering, spending time together, finding new things to do to connect. But what do you sort of miss the most from your day-to-day routine?
I miss the choice of whether or not I want to self-quarantine or not. I miss baseball. I miss going to the ballpark. Obviously I'm able to, keep in touch a little bit with text messaging and phone calls and stuff like that. But just the day-to-day life of watching watching baseball, interacting with the players, with the manager, with the coaches. and just, I don't know, going out to eat. I mean, that's something, I don't do a ton of that, but I enjoy doing it. And, but, this is way bigger than me and way bigger than baseball and all that. So we're just doing our part.
So how do you think this is, not even knowing how long this is going to go, how much of the baseball season will be affected? How do you see this affecting baseball? Overall, not just the length of time, but the players, the game, all of it.
I think baseball will be okay. We've been through a lot in the history of our game. We've come back through work stoppages and war, all kinds of things in the history of baseball. Baseball will always come back. People enjoy watching baseball. It's something that's been a part of this country for over 120 years or something like that. So it'll come back. All the sports will come back. Obviously, there's, you talk about financial hits and all that kind of stuff and teams and how they can support. Not every team's the Astros. You got other teams, say Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and stuff like that. This is tough to have no revenue. And then when we come back to field the team. But baseball will come back, and this too shall pass. We'll be stronger. We're going to have probably, if we do come back, you'll see kind of a race to the finish line here. It's not going to be a 162-game season. Maybe it's an 81-game season. So that should be fun for the fans when we come back, because every game really, really matters at that particular point. Not that it doesn't already, but in that situation, you got to go out and you got to play hard if there's only a small percentage of games left.
What about the players, both from a mental aspect and a physical aspect? What is this? How will it affect them? Or how's it affecting them now, and how will it affect them when they come back? And then from a physical standpoint too.
I think the players themselves will be fine. I mean, obviously the biggest thing in all of spring training, spring training is basically there for pitchers. It's not there for the position players. We need probably 10 days to grind it out in spring training for hitters. For pitchers, they need their time to get their arms worked up. The good news for the Houston Astros is JV gets a chance to heal and come back. Lance McCullers isn't throwing actual innings in games. He can still throw, do his throwing program, and he'll be ready to go by the time we get back. So his innings won't be limited. That'll help us a ton. As far as the position players, like I said, if we go back for spring training, say we have a 3-week to a month spring training, hitters are going to be fine. Baseball, the actual skill level and all that, they'll be fine. They're still working out. They're still keeping their bodies in shape. So it'll be fine.
So you were down there in West Palm. What was the overall, complexion of the team? What was the mood? What did you see when you were down there with the team thus far?
Well, I was there from the beginning when we had our press conference and all that stuff that transpired about the scandal in the offseason. A lot of anxiety, and I understand that. I think, probably just a little bit with their tails between their legs a little bit, and that's to be expected. Other than that, man, I was so impressed by how they came through that, how they answered their questions. They took responsibility. And, there's nothing that those guys were ever going to say that was going to be good enough. And I told them, I said, if this is the worst thing that ever happened to you in your life, you lived a pretty good life. And I think they started to come around in 2 or 3 weeks. They started to kind of grind at it and get back to the part of being a baseball player. And that's the one thing that we have. And the one great thing about our game is that we get to play every day. We don't have to take time off. Of course, now we have it. But at that particular point, where they could start grinding and saying, kind of put a chip on their shoulders, which I think they always have anyway, and play for what's on the front of their uniform instead of on the back of their uniform. And if you do that, the back of the uniform will take care of itself. So our guys were, trending in the right direction, and I think they'll do the same when they come back.
Do you see any correlation of this at all to back, when you were playing and the whole steroid thing went on, and it was just, that scandal? It's something that everybody had to deal with. It was kind of a distraction, but it is something that, I'm not going to say it was good for the game, but like you said, they had their tail between their legs, a little bit humble, just sort of almost a correction. And it is something that gets put behind you and moved on for the betterment of the game.
Yeah, I think a little bit of it is the steroid era was more of an era. This was a event that happened 3 years ago. So it was kind of right there in front of their face. Steroid era took time for the Mitchell report and all that kind of stuff to find out who they thought were on steroids, who wasn't on steroids, whatever the heck it was. But it was more of a time period, a longer time period. This was like they showed up for spring training. Here was the media. Every single one have to answer the questions right now. So I think that was the difference between the two.
So let's change gears a little bit. Looking back over from when you played over the last 20, 25 years, whatever, what do you see most? How's the game changed?
We don't have enough time on this for that. I think the game has changed in a variety of different ways. I think, to my disappointment, I think they've taken a lot out of the game that I enjoyed. I mean, just plays that taking guys out at second base, you can't do that anymore. It becomes more of a video game. You don't really have to have any skill work at second base or shortstop. Third baseman like Alex, he probably plays, I don't know, a quarter of the time as a third baseman over at shortstop. You move guys around. Doesn't seem like there's a distinct position, which is fine. I get it. That part of the analytics part I get, where as far as if guys are hitting the ball on that side of the infield, you might as well move everybody over there. Up for the hitters to make an adjustment. My problem is they haven't made an adjustment. They continue to do the same things, but that's what they get paid for, and they don't have any repercussions for that, so I can't blame them. I just think it's an overall philosophy of analytics and home runs. I just think that home runs is a very overrated stat. It's a nice stat, but what do you do with the rest of your at-bats? If you hit 30 home runs, you got 560 at-bats after that. What do you do with them? And to hit 230 I don't like that. I think it's acceptable. Replay is a nice deal, but the problem is it really slows the game down. They talk about pitchers throwing the ball, guys stepping out of the backs. Well, you got a 5-minute, 10-minute replay of a guy, see if a guy's spike came off of second base when he was already safe. I mean, I just think that's a little bit too much. And the athlete today is a bigger and stronger athlete, no doubt about that. But the people that survive in our game, their mental capabilities are what makes them great. So you can have all the physical attributes as you want, but you got to be able to do stuff like I said, hit the ball the other way every once in a while, change the shift against you. Analytics is a big part of our game. I really believe in it in pitching. It helps. Defense, it helps. But, my point of view is you can't reinvent the wheel in hitting. And it's something that if there was one way to do it, everybody would do it. And through the history of the game, you don't see the same stance or the same swing all the time.
Well, and of course, your stance, something we've talked about. I don't think you've ever done an interview with anybody that they haven't asked you about your stance. You've always told me it's not something you'd ever recommend to a kid. I mean, the wide part is okay, but not the stepping back, whatever. But where did that even come from?
You pay attention. That's good. I like that, Ben.
I always have.
Well, it came from Tony Gwynn. In 1993, I was messing around with my stance a whole bunch of times, and I asked Tony Gwynn to sign me a bat, and he sent me over a bat, said, Jeff, keep the same stance. And so obviously he saw me tinkering a lot. So I said, okay, Tony Gwynn spreads out a little bit. Maybe I should try that, since I've never seen anybody put the barrel on the ball as much as Tony Gwynn. So somehow, some way, I came up with spreading out, and then my hands started dropping, and I started stepping back. I never, ever even knew I was doing that until I saw it on video. And I worked hard trying to keep that my bat from dropping and all that. I worked hard in the offseason, but it never came to fruition that it was a constant. It's just what I got, good and the bad.
It worked. So it worked to the tune of, and you talked about some of those numbers. I mean, I think it's a 297 lifetime batting average, 449 home runs. I mean, silver sluggers, MVPs, the list goes on and on, all your numbers, your accomplishments. But which one of all those things, or maybe none of them, what are you most proud of when you look back at the numbers in your career?
Well, personally, I mean, I said it, I think even in my Hall of Fame speech, my stolen bases I was the most proud of, because I'm not fast. And I had to do most of that with my brain, certain situations, certain things that I could see because I played first base on pitchers. But I like the fact that, I have over 1,500 RBIs and over 1,500 runs. So it wasn't just one thing for me. I took pride in that I could pretty much do everything well. I didn't have just one phase of the game. I could play good defense. I could run the bases. I could score runs for our team. I could drive in runs. And to be a complete player, that's probably the most thing I'm proud of.
Okay, now take the numbers out of it. What are you, when you look back, what stands out for you? What were, maybe one, couple, whatever. So some of the highlights when you look back and say that was the best part of my career. That's what I enjoyed the most.
It's 100% the people that I played with. My teammates, the relationship that I have made with my teammates that I never would have had a chance to do without baseball. I tell the story all the time about two of my daughters. Their godparents are Dominican, Moises and Austria Lou. Where am I going to get a chance to have that? Only in baseball. The people that I've met, the relationships that I've had in the game, that's what I love about baseball. A whole window of opportunity that I've had to meet different people from all types of backgrounds, parts of the world, and to still maintain the friendships that I have today. That's the gift of baseball gaming.
And when you talk about that whole clubhouse mentality, I mean, there's no doubt back in, in when it was you and Moises and Osmus and Craig, I mean, it's kind of the old adage, as the leaders go, so goes the rest of the clubhouse. And you were all leaders in very different ways. How much pride did you take in being that leader? And yours was always, and you always said it was always by example, but you knew there were a lot of young kids in that clubhouse that looked up to you. And how important was that to you to do things the right way and to be able to pass that on to them?
Well, the most important thing is about doing it the right way yourself first. Be accountable for the things that you say. You have to be accountable for yourself to do the same things. With young players, you don't need to scream and yell at them. If they do something wrong, either when it happens or after the game or before the next game, you ask them what they were thinking about, and then you tell them they were wrong, and then you just discuss what it goes. And that feeds the entire population in our clubhouse for the one ultimate goal, which is to win. It's not an individual sport. We need everybody. You can be Mike Trout and be the best player in the game and only been to 3 playoff games. We need everybody. And it has to be a team thing. So when you walk through our door, it was business. The game has changed a little bit now where it's still business, but it's a heck of a lot of fun too, which I think is fine. I kind of fought that for a while until actually the World Series in 2017, where I said, okay, I get this a little bit. I used to get mad at Correa and Altuve when they used to do their little handshake and out in the dugout. I kind of enjoy it now. So things have changed on my point, but it was straight business for us. Sure, we had some great times before and after the game, but for our clubhouse, it was business. At 7:05 or 1:05, we were there to win a baseball game.
So do you still get that? I mean, that to be in that clubhouse every single day and hours on end. And I think you said it in your Hall of Fame speech, you sat there and talked to Osmus and Alou just about everything under the sun. You're still around baseball and stuff, but do you miss that day-to-day connection?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. I got guys that know more about me than my family at that particular time. They knew everything about me, everything that was inside me, my interactions, the way my weird things I did or the funny things I did or stuff like that. It was just, you were family. I mean, you think about it, you get to the ballpark at 2 and you leave at 12. Okay. So we got 8 hours. You don't spend that much time with your family during a day. You go to sleep at 2 and then you wake up and go to the ballpark. So that's your family basically for 8-9 months a year. Tough to have a regular family on that schedule, but guys make it work. Most importantly, their wives generally make it work. But those are the times that are the most important things. And Patty, you've been around the game, all kinds of sports. When have you ever seen a team that's actually won something, didn't come in and talk about their clubhouse and talk about how the guys get along and how they all pull for each other? Every single team that's ever won always talks about that. They never come and say, well, I don't like that guy, I don't like that. No, they all find a way that they're all on the same page and there's always a good chemistry. And that's what we had. And that's what this team has now too.
And is that something that you really, as your role with the organization, is that something that you really try to portray and get across to these younger guys? Does that have to happen organically, or can you kind of preach how important chemistry is?
It kind of has to happen organically. You can't make leaders. You either are or you're not. There's different ways to go about it. You got 25 guys that have different personalities. The only thing you need is to be going in the right direction of what you want to do. Your ultimate goal is to win a World Series. If you have that, you'll find the leaders. You'll find the guys that you can see them. The people that talk to the media and they sit there and they never take credit and they always take the blame. You see Altuve does that a lot. He never talks about himself. George does that a lot. Alex does that. So you have a bunch of guys that are doing those kind of things. It's not something you can make. You either have to be that or you're not. But it certainly helps to have a guy or two to kind of be the spokesperson for the team inside the clubhouse, not to the media, but inside the clubhouse, where he can go into each sector, I would say, of the clubhouse and carry some sort of respect. But you have to be accountability to your teammates yourself, because you can't preach something and not do it yourself.
Well, and I think it even goes a little bit beyond the players, because, you go inside a clubhouse or inside an organization, and you're someone that took the time. I mean, you and I have a relationship. I don't have relationships with every single player because they're doing their job. I'm doing mine. We're not all part of the team. I don't feel like you ever looked at it that way, whether it was media, whether it was the clubhouse guys who you singled out 4 or 5 clubhouse guys in your Hall of Fame speech. Anyone in the organization, I mean, you always managed to take the time to talk to anybody, no matter who it was, and establish those relationships. And I think that's, something that is attributed to the success, but also, I don't know if that's if that's something that can be taught, or if that's just who you are, and how important is that to you?
Well, part of that is an example part. I think that as a player, you have to recognize that everybody has a job. And it's never really done maliciously when the media asks you questions and stuff like that. There's not too many people in the media that do that. I think there has to be a mutual respect and accountability. I got to be accountable. If you ask me a question, I have to be accountability. I have to have the accountability to answer it. I might dance around it a little bit, and you can figure that out, but I have the responsibility to be there. And I've always told people, if you want to find out about a player, go ask a clubhouse guy. Very easy to be nice to me. I want to see how you are to other people. And what the job of clubhouse guys do, even players, they don't understand when they go home and they throw all their clothes in the basket and all that, they just don't automatically appear in your locker the next day. There's a lot of people that do a lot of work, spend a lot of time, and they pull for us, and so those are people too. And I've always been like that. And I like people. I think people deserve respect unless they do something not to deserve it. And I think it helps to know everybody in your organization. So, like, again, we're all in this together. Media, clubhouse guys, front office, and players and coaches and training staff. We're all trying to do one thing, and you got to be respectful of that.
So, outside of the clubhouse and the relationships, what was your favorite moment on the field?
My first one was probably opening day in '91 in Cincinnati. My second one would be Darryl Kile's no-hitter. At that particular point, I've never been so happy for a player in my career, especially being Darryl, being one of my best friends. Then probably getting to the World Series was a big deal, although it was kind of a weird deal for me. I was more happy for our guys and the city for sure, and not as much for me because I was hurt that year. It was kind of a tough deal for me, but very excited to be there and very happy for us as a team, the players and stuff like that. And then honestly, when Craig got his 3,000th hit, that was a memory that was so strange to me. Coming back from vacation to see it, and for him to get 5 hits that day, when he was getting like 5 hits a month, and the emotion that I felt for him, because I knew how important it was for him to go down there and spend some time with him. I didn't expect what happened when he took me out on the field, but I felt like I had to see him at that particular point. So basically, everything I'm telling you is because of all these. I'm talking about other players because I can't think of one thing that I remember about myself that was so special. But those feelings of my teammates and the excitement and joy that they had, that's special.
Well, I'll get to your relationship with Craig in just a minute, but you mentioned Darryl Kile. Between Darryl and Ken Caminiti, you went through a couple tough losses there, all during times when you were playing. You don't have to go into too much depth on it, but I know those two were very special to you, two very good friends and tough times in your career. And I feel like to have a conversation with you and not bring them into it would be a little bit remiss.
Yeah. Darryl Kile's death was the worst day of my life. I remember every single thing about it. When we got the phone call, Moises called me from Chicago. At 2:00, he had a 2:20 game. And to get that phone call, I've never felt anything like that, a sadness that I still have to this day. I never ever go a day without thinking about Daryl. I mean, Daryl's jersey's up over here. Such a tragic loss at such a young age. You know, Daryl and I had so many plans after we were done and stuff like that. So that was devastating. The thing about Cammy, I mean, Cammy took me underneath his wing when I was supposed to take his job, and I'll never forget that. The problem with Cammy was I knew the way things were going that this could happen. I just did not expect it to happen that soon. I didn't know that much about addiction back then or alcoholism as I do now. And I only wish that I could have known more at the time to help him. You know, I know I tried but another devastating, I mean, this guy, his heart was so big. You know, he looked like he could kill you in 2.5 seconds if he wanted to, but he had such a big heart. And to lose him and, you know, to know Nancy and the girls, their whole life, you know, it's tough, man. It's tough to lose somebody like that. And, but people deal with death all the time, but especially as we get older, we see more and more people are dying, and what we're going through now, obviously it's tough, but those were 2 big losses in my life.
All right, let's talk about Craig Biggio. Obviously, Biggio, Bagwell, Bagwell, Biggio, 5 and 7, been synonymous forever. Craig, 20 years with the same organization. You, 15 years with the same organization. That just doesn't happen. Can you just, you know, touch on or talk a little bit about what that, not what Craig means to you so much as a person, but what that relationship over that time and what you guys meant to the city means to you?
Yeah, well, you're talking about knowing everything about somebody. I mean, you know, when Kevin got called up to the big leagues last year, I just could not believe that. I mean, I remember when Kevin was born. I remember making fun of his wife saying, "You named him Kevin?" You know, and Patty's like, "Shut up." But to see him get into the big leagues and the excitement for that for me and for Craig, I mean, you know, what a joy for Craig. But, you know, Craig and I are synonymous, and I can't think of a better guy to be synonymous with than Craig. And I've always said, if you're going to take your kid to watch a baseball game, come in and tell the kid to watch number 7 play, because he plays the game the way it's supposed to be played. Our relationship has developed over the years. It's probably the best it's ever been right now. I mean, we live on different sides of the town, and we both have kids and all that kind of stuff, but we always have that thing together that we played our entire career together. And that was by design. You know, always said that, you know, in order to play for one team your entire career, there has to be 2 sides. It can't be just the player or just the owner. Both sides have to have some give and take, and that's what Craig and I both did so that we could stay and play for the same team. And with Drayton, it was great, and it worked out perfectly. And you just don't see it that much anymore, and you probably won't either, just because of the money that it's involved and stuff like that. So it's hard to get 2 guys, never mind 1, to play for one team.
Of course, both of you ending up as Hall of Famers. You going in 2017, what did that, you downplayed it for so many years. You know, it's not for me to decide, and, you know, it'll happen if it happens. Well, you know, then that's kind of you, and that's your demeanor. I get it. But what did that mean to you to finally go into the Hall of Fame? And obviously the speech, I was there. Just take us through that.
I promise you it wasn't lip service what I was saying.
So
it meant, yeah, it's cool. I think you know what, the longer that I've been in it, the more that I feel I belong. You know, I've seen other people's numbers and stuff like that. And I think, you know, the biggest thing that I try and convey to people is, you know, baseball is not my legacy. My legacy is how I am as a husband, how I am as a father. And the things that I do now to kind of mold our kids in the right direction. As far as what I did for a living, I can't get any higher than the Hall of Fame. I am proud of that. I think I belong there. When back in 17 and, you know, back when I started, probably 2010 or whatever, I think it was 2010, my first vote. I mean, I was just trying to find my way. You know, I was out of baseball for 5 years, and, you know, so much stuff was going on as far as steroids and all that kind of other stuff. And I'm like, whatever, man. It wasn't the first thing on my mind. But to get in and finally get in there and get there and feel like I belong, I think it's gotten a lot better, and I'm very proud to be in there.
So your broadcast career now, you get so, and I don't know how many people, what they say to you, but people love hearing you. I mean, even though you mumble sometimes,
and I slouch like my wife
slouch a little, whatever, but your insight, you're just like you are right now. I mean, you're Jeff Bagwell. You are who you are. Your insight is great. A, are you enjoying it? B, do you think you're, as good as people? Did you understand how people are receiving you? And then where do you want to go with it?
Well, I figured, a lot of people come up to me and tell me they love it, and they don't go to games on Saturday night so they can listen to me. But what are they supposed to say? You stink? You're terrible. So I don't know how that goes, but I really enjoy it. I try and give, and it's how I am. I try and talk like I normally talk, without a lot of the swearing and all that kind of stuff. But I try and get a feeling of how baseball players feel in certain situations, what is the right thing to do, kind of a lot of stories, a lot of insight, and then a little bit of baseball mixed in there too. So Blummy is wonderful. I've known Blummy for 20 years. We have a great relationship. He knows the buttons to push on me to get me to talk and say things off the wall. And TK is great too, because he kind of reels Blummy and I in around the 6th or the 7th inning when we start going way off script. I enjoy it. The 6 times a year is great. Those guys do a great job. It's not what I found out, like I found out when I pinch hit when I ended my career, watching the production that goes behind what these guys do and the amount of work that they do before games makes me really appreciate what they do. And I just feel blessed to be able to be in there with those two guys and just to spend some time with the fans.
We talk about the fans, and we brought it up a couple of times. Do you have the sense, and again, no one's going to come up and say, you stink, you were never my favorite, I don't like you. I mean, obviously, you're going to hear the positive side of it, but do you get it? You have the sense, you realize what you and Craig or you mean to the fans, meant to them, and what an impact that you continue to have on them?
I do. And I hate going back to this because, I hate talking about the Hall of Fame, but part of my speech, the end of my speech is I remember when I was a kid and watching the Red Sox games with my father every night. If we could see it on the Channel 6, which was all scrambled because he had to go on top of the roof and mess with the antenna and all that. But I remember all our conversations was always about the Red Sox, whether it was Yaz or Fisk or Rice or whatever. And then going forward, to me, knowing that I'm part of that for families too. Craig and I are part for 15 years. It was, Bagwell stinks, well, Biggio's a better player, Bagwell's all that kind of stuff. We were a part of a family that could talk at dinner, talk afterwards, something that would involve a family of coming together and being a part of that. When I look back at it now, it's something you don't think about when you're playing, but when you get out of the game, I get my kids are talking about, Bregman, Springer, Altuve, so I see how that does in their lives. And that's what I was for a generation with Craig. So that's pretty cool.
What did that mean to you in 2017 when the Astros won the World Series? Was it kind of for everyone? Was it for the whole organization? Was it for the past players, kind of the fan, everybody?
It was. I think the most special part about that for me was the players. With AJ and the coaching staff and the players, just because I spent some time around them and they're good people. They're just, you can't walk into that clubhouse and find a guy you don't like. And to see how they all pull for each other as they do today, you don't find that. And that was very, very rewarding to see that. So I really, really enjoyed that. It was kind of a jealousy also, being ecstatic. I mean, I wish I could have experienced that. But for them to do it and for our city, what we went through with Harvey, the way the city has come together. I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing Astro stuff now. I mean, that makes a smile. Every time I see an Astro shirt, which I see tons every single day, except now, it puts a smile on my face because, this is what this city is known for with the Astros. And when you go on the road and you see people with orange, that they're Astro fans. It's just pretty cool.
So before we get to our final little thing, which is just some quick fire questions, at this point, obviously not today, we're all in a different place, but in your life, I mean, everybody has their ups, their downs. You're at a good place in your life?
I'm in a great place. I couldn't be happier. My wife is absolutely wonderful to me. Huge part of everything. If you listen to my Hall of Fame speech, she's always been there for me. I wouldn't be here without her. My kids are great. They're going in the right direction. They still drive me crazy. But I'm happy, and I enjoy what I do. I enjoy working with the Astros and being a part of that. That gives me a little bit of piece of me back to the game, which I enjoy. I get to do the broadcasting. So I'm in a good place.
All right. This is Q19.
Okay.
19 questions, or however many
19.
Well, we might not get to that many, but pretty quick fire. Favorite sport to watch?
Baseball.
Of course. Your hero growing up, any sport?
Carl Yastrzemski.
Current athlete that you are most impressed with?
Current athlete I'm most impressed with? I don't know, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Who is your favorite Are you a football fan?
I'm a Patriot fan, yeah.
Oh, of course you are.
Well,
so how'd you feel?
That's been since I was born now, so you can't call me a front runner.
I know. I didn't mean it that way. Are you, you get out to Texans games?
Yes, I do watch the Texans game.
Yeah? Okay. Favorite movie of all time?
Gladiator.
All right. The Netflix shows that you've been binging on while you've been queued up.
Well, we're watching the new series of Ozark, the 3rd season. We watched Tiger King like the rest of the world.
And
And
your take on Tiger King? I literally just watched it and can't get that time of my life back.
I think about about the fifth thing. I woke up in the morning. I said, "This cannot be right." And then I remember I've met a lot of people like those people. So it's absolutely unbelievable. I don't know. You know what? You can't get your time back, but we had nothing else to do. So there we go.
That is the only saving grace. Is that there was nothing else to do, because that was and my dad of all people says, "Oh my gosh, you've got to watch this." And I can't even believe it. All right, your most prized possession?
My Hummer. Can't say my family because those aren't possessions.
Nope. Your Hummer, huh? Toughest pitcher you ever faced?
Toughest? Kevin Brown. Not the best, but the toughest.
Okay. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Don't ever give up, and don't ever quit something you start.
Who gave you that?
My father. And he made me work at Friendly's when I was in Cape Cod, and I should have quit that job, but I didn't quit because of him. It's the worst job ever. And I've had construction jobs and everything. Friendly's was bad.
What'd you do at Friendly's?
Dishwasher. That was before they had nice dishwashers. So when you open it up, all the steam comes straight into your face.
Great. What did it mean? This was a question that someone texted in. What did it mean to you? And you already kind of answered this, but to play your entire 15-year career with the Astros, with one team?
Proud. Very proud to play my whole career with the Astros. I can't think of anything better. And to be honest with you, when I signed my extension in 2000, that was part of the reason. I couldn't imagine playing for another team.
Is there anything on your bucket list that you want to do?
Bucket list. Nah. I mean, I love to say that I love to be in a cage with great whites, but I'm too scared to do that because I'm afraid I'll be the only guy to get eaten by one. But I don't have anything that I haven't done that I want to do.
All right. And the last one, how do you want to be remembered?
As far as what? Sports?
However you want to.
Well, first I told you I want to be remembered as a good person, a great husband, a great father. I'll take good. It's not too crazy. A person that cared about other people. And in baseball, he was a great teammate. That he showed up every day, no matter if he was dying with his right shoulder. He still went out there, and his teammates could count on him. And if I can do that and be a good teammate, I'm cool with that.
All right. Awesome stuff. Thank you, my friend.
Patty, appreciate it.
All right, that's going to do it for our very first episode of Queued Up. We hope you enjoyed it. And again, thank you so much, Jeff Bagwell, for helping us fill that void, sharing some stories, and, kind of helping us kill a little bit of time as we are all queued up here at home. And in the interest of staying home, stopping the spread, and saving lives, I want to tell you about something else very exciting happening here in Houston. The Harris County Houston Sports Authority, in partnership with Houston's newest sports team, the Houston Outlaws, have teamed together, and we are creating something called Gaming Together. That's right, we're turning social distancing into a positive and are encouraging all of us, my family included, to take a moment out of this pandemic to be thankful for what we do have. While you're at home with your family, your roommates, your grandparents, your pets, whoever, let's all inject a little laughter and fun back into our lives with some old-fashioned competition. Whether it's video games, board games, it could be card games, just free up a few moments in your day to play. Spend time with those you love, laughing, reconnecting, appreciating, and capturing it all on video for us. So here's the deal. After you do that, take some pictures, then upload your 30-second video, picture or video, to outlaws.gg/gaming together. Show us how much fun you and your family or friends are having. Hashtagging gaming together. Tune in next Thursday night when we'll be sharing our favorite videos. It's kind of like America's Funniest Videos type thing. Send them all in. We'll show our favorite ones on the next episode of Queued Up. And for those of you who wish to really go an extra mile and take it a step further, we'll also be accepting donations for Texas Children's Hospital as part of the Children's Miracle Network and our efforts to combat COVID-19. Gaming Together, H-Town. All right, that's going to do it. Once again, if you missed any of this episode, tune into our friends over at ABC 13 on the 10 o'clock news tonight. Greg Bailey and his staff will break some of this down, or tune into Sports Radio 610 tomorrow morning in the 9 o'clock hour. Payne and Pendergast will also be breaking down some of Jeff Bagwell. And as always, you can catch the entire episode right here on HoustonSports.org. Until next time.